Hello viewers, I'm SB and welcome to Total War Warhammer 3 Tides of Torment, the latest in the very long line of DLCs for Total War Warhammer. This one launches along with the 7.0 patch, so as you might imagine, major build number. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of fixes, a lot of changes, a big faction rework, and I'm very excited to get into it. So, today we're going to be starting a new Immortal Empires game as Norsca, one of the 3 factions that is receiving new legendary lords in this expansion, and also the recipient of a fairly significant rework, which they needed badly. If you are not familiar with Total War Warhammer, if you've never seen this before, because I know it has been quite a while since it has been prominently featured on the channel, don't worry, you will not be left behind. We'll explain everything as we go here. It's a big game, but it's not really that complicated. So, the Tides of Torment DLC contains new legendary lords for the High Elves, Slaanesh, and Norsca. In addition, on Thursday, when the DLC launches and the patch launches, they are also releasing a free for everybody new legendary lord for Slaanesh. So you got some cool new stuff here. T'Challa, I don't know, the denied one, and the Mask of Slaanesh. And listen, this is all cool stuff. I love Chaos Demon stuff, of course, but those of you who know me and my Warhammer opinions have got to know today's going to be all about Norsca, right? So,
as I hold, face me.
The new character, the new legendary lord, here is Sail the Faithless. Not in it really for the glory of the Chaos Gods, mostly in it to gain magical power for himself. His story is all about using a dark ritual to gather the magical power of those around him into himself. And that stuff's cool. He's got that thing that you just saw there in the cinematic, the Night Maw, which is some kind of horrible apprentice pet thing. It's all very neat. That's not where we're going today. They reworked Throg into a proper Troll King. You can now establish a Troll Empire, in fact, using all the new kinds of trolls that have been added since the end of the first game, and a bunch of the winter beasts and stuff that came in with Kislev. And make yourself the proper King of the North. I think that's a super cool idea. That's also not what we're doing, but this is really neat.
Chaos has chosen me.
Here's the thing about Wulfrik the Wanderer. Y'all know he's my guy. Like, the aesthetic I am all about this aesthetic, and nobody wears more skulls into battle than Wulfrik the Wanderer. They could try. Nobody even dares to challenge him, because they know he is the skulliest. So, for, I believe, the first time in the channel's history, we're going to be picking up a legendary lord that we have used in a campaign before. And I think what better way to show how far Norsca has come since the early days of Warhammer 1, or the very late days of Warhammer 1, but the early days of the series, than to show how he now stands in Warhammer 3. So he still has his patch up here in Norsca, but Wulfrik himself begins on his legendary magical ship Seafang over here off the coast of Lustria, ready to cause all kinds of trouble. And they've made some cool changes to the functionality of Seafang. Seafang has a significant teleport distance now, and it just really lends itself very well to the sort of world-traveling, marauding and raiding and monster hunting playstyle that I think is so cool, that really brings me to Norsca. So, yeah, I'm excited to get into this. So we have major bonus income from raiding. All the marauder units are cheaper in all of our armies, and then Wulfrik himself can attack port settlements from the sea. You no longer have to make landfall first. You just go right into the harbor. We have a bunch of bonus movement range, which y'all know is one of my favorite things. Chase people down, make sure nobody escapes your wrath. His whole army causes fear. He is immune to all the kinds of sea attrition. He's just like the greatest sailor in the world. And that he can summon Seafang in land combat as well, and just basically like shoot his magic boat at people. which is funny every single time you see it. So, without too much further ado here, can I show my campaign settings? Here we go. So we're going to be playing on very hard here. This is I think the most satisfying difficulty. And the only reason I don't play on legendary is that I pause. I pause a lot in battle because I talk. Y'all know how it is. So yeah, very hard, and let's have at it. Like the lizardmen whose magic brought them into being, the sentient mountain rages that demarcate the Isthmus of Lustria from the Dark Elves stand in stoic defiance against Naggaroth's boundless hate. Throughout history, the relative safety of the isthmuses, bays, and inlets have attracted many explorers of the Old World and beyond, with many who have made landfall arriving with feudal intentions to pillage Lustria's temple cities. There is a lot of money in those temple cities, I get it. Wiser are those who eschew conflict with the cold-blooded locals. Yet such visitors are rare, for few risk the perilous journey across the great ocean without a lust for fortune. There's not really any other reason to go into that jungle, and the jungle itself is a nightmare, right? So here's some lovely art of our folks. We got some of these new Norscan units. These are the bear warriors, I believe. And then, of course, a skin wolf. Back there, your classic frost dragon. And the man himself, Wulfrik. I don't play a lot of characters who are like big shield characters. Wulfrik does have a big chunk of a wall that he drags around with him. Make no mistake, he's all offense. He's just also very tough.
New seas, new enemies. There are challenges to be won. Set a course!
Alright, so, the path to glory. We're using Wulfrik's enchanted longship Seafang to instantly travel vast distances between port settlements. And you can actually bring nearby armies with you when you do this, which is really powerful, obviously. We will raise altars in the place of conquered settlements and gradually pledge allegiance to the gods to receive their faction-boosting gifts and unique characters. And we will pillage and raise our enemies' settlements to reap the valuable spoils needed for further conquest. So, before we do anything else, let's just take a quick look at what victory means in this campaign. In order to win here, a short campaign victory requires us to attain level 3 allegiance with one of the gods, defeat a total of 15 lords from among the races of order, as they call themselves, and occupy, loot, raise, or sack 30 different settlements. The long campaign victory, which is what we're going to actually be aiming for, is all of that plus another 30 different settlements, another 15 lords, and a 4th level of allegiance with any god. But when we hit this short victory threshold, we will get a little bit of a boost for all of our recruited units from then on. So, what does it mean to get allegiance with a god? Every time we conquer a settlement, we will have the option of all the stuff that other characters can do. We can occupy it ourselves. We can burn it down. We can just pillage it and run off with its money. But we will also have the ability to burn it and erect in its place a monument to one of the great Norscan gods. Here we have the hound, the eagle, the crow, and of course the serpent. And as we erect more monuments to these gods, their level of favor offered to us will get greater and greater, and we will reap more and more rewards, as you can see here. So we need to raise 15 altars to one of the gods in order to push ourselves up to level 4 allegiance. I believe we are allowed to. We're allowed to raise monuments to other gods in case we want to try to scoop up some of these lower level rewards. But it feels to me like probably it makes the most sense to go hard, get one of the gods locked all the way in, and then figure out what else we might want. Probably. So,
Wulfrik the Wanderer.
this here is Wulfrik the Wanderer's army in his magic longship. This is a game about moving armies around on a map to do battle. You can see here our army represents this stack of troops, Wulfrik himself, and a variety of men from the north who brought axes with them. Also, a mammoth. There's a mammoth on the boat. How do we do that? It's magic. It's a magic longship. We've also been joined by Vidamar Hargrothson, who is a shaman sorcerer of the School of Metal, in case you couldn't tell from the aesthetic. And we're just going to keep this real simple. We're going to... this guy is a map agent. Your shaman sorcerers can run around the maps, stealing technology from enemy settlements, attempting to attack enemy characters or interfere with the movement of any enemy armies. But we are just going to fold him into this army. He is going to become a combat unit.
Finders, keepers.
And we are going to employ his magic in the course of, taking over.
My next quarry?
And we started the game right next to this this faction here, the New World. These guys are called the New World Colonies, led by Philip Billings. And we're just gonna blow up this this ship they have here, this army.
No.
So what do they got? It's Philip himself, presumably, and like some swords and some archers.
Guns are sailors at heart.
Yeah, this is free lunch.
They're finished.
So this is an easy enough fight that we absolutely could just auto-resolve it, and we certainly will auto-resolve some significant number of battles throughout the campaign, but let's fight this one manually just so that we can get the hang of the battle engine, get the hang of our troops, and again, for the people who are less familiar with the thing. This is the thing. Most of Total War Warhammer is an excuse to have big fantasy battles in the battle engine, and the map stuff largely exists to add like weight and consequence and context to the outcome of those battles. So you can see here sort of a rough assay of the terrain, our deployment area, their deployment area. They are outnumbered, and if I may say so, outskilled. Our individual troops are more valuable than theirs are, so this is going to be a pretty straightforward sort of thing. So, like I said, a feral mammoth, looking pretty mean. Maybe he's had better days. Hi, yeah, we're talking about you. Still a cutie.
They are puny traitors.
And lots of dudes with axes. We do have 2 units of horsemen marauders. These guys have throwing axes, a fairly large amount of throwing axes, so we can use them to harass enemies at some range with considerable movement speed. And then, of course, we got the man himself, Wulfrik the Wanderer, who is ready to do something absolutely horrible. Now, Wulfrik is what the game calls a melee expert. With his 70 attack, 50 defense, and 100 armor, he is more than ready to put up in one-on-one against other enemy characters and stuff. He also has the silver shielded trait, so 55% of all small arms missile fire from the front gets ignored, and he's just gonna wade into the enemies and pick them apart. I don't think we got to get too fancy about this. Let's just start the battle. I'm gonna command group these guys right up over here, y'all, and everybody else just kind of like march forward. I think I failed too quick. There we go. Yeah, just kind of advance on them in a general sort of way. So you can see here the circle indicating the range of the throwing axes. I'm just gonna do a little bit of harassment here. Oh, see, they have archers. We do have to watch that. I would trust those archers to defeat these horsemen in straight combat, so we're going to try not to do a lot of straight combat. You can see there the green bar at the top of the unit representing health, the white bar representing leadership, or you might think of it as morale, and then the units that have ranged weapons have an orange bar representing their total ammo, their remaining ammo. So I'm just gonna lure these archers out of position into the side a little bit here. Boy, they sure did just come right out. They're bloodthirsty. I mean, I gotta respect it. Okay, so let's Let's just run at him, huh? We don't need strategy. It's worth noting we have a couple of different kinds of marauder here. But like I said, I'm not super interested in strategy right now. So, our Vidmar, our sorcerer here, with 30 melee attack, 38 melee defense, he's not a terrible fighter. To compare him to like an enemy swordsman, just like a normal troop. Enemy swordsmen have 32 attack, 37 defense. So he fights about as well as like a basically trained soldier. He also has better armor owing to his magic. But on top of all of that stuff, he has the ability to make shards of searing metal rain from the sky. So let's employ a little bit of that, shall we? They got these archers just waiting here to ruin our day. Let's do the same to them. And aside from that, everybody's got run forward orders. Oh, no, of course, I gotta make sure. Gotta make sure Wulfrik's doing the thing. Alright, and I'm gonna run the horses around the back. If these guys continue to pursue the horses, they're gonna have a real bad time when that mammoth gets closer. It does look like they are laser focused. Oh, the enemy saw the spell coming and ran forward. What a bunch of cowards.
You said it.
You can see the archers are moving a little bit slower as they try to go through the trees. Okay, only one unit of archers is able to actually, like, rain penalties upon us as we approach here, which is working out pretty okay for me. We're going to have our horses come in, and you can see we are able to fire while moving because, you know, the horse is doing the running while the man is doing the shooting. Foot archers, crossbows are not able. They have to, you know, plant their feet and get ready. So these guys are going to find that they're going to have a hell of a time competing with our ability to run in circles around them. And in fact, you can see our projectiles here. We're starting to throw some. I'm going to have one of these units of horses come around and attack these archers from behind. Yeah, we'll do it like that. And then also, we got this magic longship. I don't know if y'all remember. Let's see what that looks like. All right, the archers are dodging. I'm going to tell our guys not to worry about throwing axes right now. This is a melee charge. We're just going to charge those archers, lock them in place so that our marauders can catch up. And the mammoth is back here doing terrifying things. So let's talk real quickly about what's going on here. You will notice, first of all, the archers are doing very poorly in open melee combat, just getting torn apart. Their white bar has emptied completely, so they are broken now. They're panicking. They're trying to flee the battlefield. Little white flag above their head. The other enemy units are meeting us, and they are taking less immediate morale damage, but our troops are generally scary. In addition just to being statistically superior, we have that ability to cause fear. Like I said, that Wulfrik confers upon his entire army. So this scares the leadership out of our enemies. I expect this to be a pretty short battle, as most of our enemies will panic and break. And in fact, let's reroute these horses. Do another flanking charge here. One thing that people hate is to get charged in the rear while they're already trying to fight somebody. You're going to see that's going to have a serious effect on enemy morale. Yep, almost everybody is now in panic and flee mode. And Wulfrik's trying to wade through just the press of bodies to get to their lord. Alright, let's pull our horses out. So we can switch back into throwing weapon mode and try to clear up the survivors. Turn off melee. You guys stay on them.
Agree.
Now you see here, some of our units have gone berserk. The berserkers tend to do that. While they are berserk, they do not follow my orders, as you might imagine. So it's a little annoying.
Prepare to ruin.
Yeah, you can see our lord is trying so hard to get to their lord, but he's surrounded by berserkers who seem to have lost their focus just a tiny bit. I'm gonna command our people to back up a little bit. Let's just open the path. Wulfrik, you gotta smash that dude. There we go. A single solid shot from Wulfrik has convinced him that in fact this battle is probably over. I'm gonna hit him with the boat. So in addition to doing some damage, the boat also does lower the enemy's speed by 30%. And the battle's over. At this point, I'm just messing around. Battles do not necessarily conclude with the death of all of one side. It's just if everybody on... if all of the units on one side have committed to retreat, that's good enough. And our decisive victory will be rewarded with some cash and stuff. We lost 23 men to their 571. Wulfrik himself took the brunt of the damage. He walked into the whole of the enemy melee line by himself because he's a little bit faster than the rest of our troops are. And you can see here the various kill counts. Yeah, the battle went about as I was expecting it to. So, we are going to... This was not their faction leader, though. This is just some guy named Codius Braun. You know, the New World colonies, they got a lot of dudes who look real similar. Just like bald white guys with the exact same mustache and beard combination. Must be very popular where they come from. Either that or they all bought the same fake beard before they left port. So when we load out of battle here, we will be asked what we want to do with the captives, those who survived. And every faction has sort of slightly different options for this. We are a raiding force. We are definitely like violence focused here. So our options are we can execute them all in the name of the Chaos Gods, which will confer some bonus experience on our units. We can enslave them and use them as support people for our army, which will effectively heal our army some. Or we can sacrifice them to the Chaos Gods in a different way, I guess. Slaughter the captives in the name of the Chaos Gods is different than offer these captives to the Chaos Gods in return for their favor. But if we do this, we'll get a little bit... we will receive a little bit of enchanted treasure from the gods. At this point in the campaign, I think I'm just going to take the experience boost. This is not very much healing, and this is not very much money.
Practice your killing, lads.
Alright, and you may have noticed that although we fought them ship to ship there, the battle actually took place on land. Yeah, that's the thing. There simply are no like naval, like water battle maps in the game, so we're just going to have to adjust to that. We're going to be seeing a lot of it, I suspect. So Codius Braun is slain. We've been issued a mission. Capture and occupy the following settlement of the Monument of the Moon here. So I think that makes good sense. We will receive some basic loot for doing so. We gotta have somewhere to serve as a beachhead, right?
Set a course.
So we just sail right up, and they've got a pretty basic settlement here. Just a handful of spears and swords, a single unit of crossbows. Hopefully you will not mind if I auto-resolve this one, because obviously we run those dudes down. So, this serves an important purpose. Notice how much damage we took when we auto-resolved that battle. The auto-resolver does not actually simulate battles. It creates a result based on some deep arcane mathematics. Now, in theory, these guys would have something of a defensive advantage since they probably have, structures. They have a settlement that we are invading, and so we should take more damage. But broadly speaking, it's going to be the case that playing a battle manually, we will outperform the auto-resolver. Our troops will do better, they'll kill better, they'll take less damage. However, we're going to get into like a couple hundred fights over the course of this campaign, and we just don't have the actual real-world human minutes to run them all manually. So they dropped a Ranger's Standard. We can attach this to one of our units to give them 10% bonus speed and the ability to ignore movement penalties caused by terrain. Movement and combat penalties caused by terrain. So like they won't take penalties for fighting waist deep in water or anything. That's pretty cool. Alright. So we are being told we want to occupy this settlement. Choosing to settle here will present the option to give up your lands in Norsca in return for riches. If so, you can always use Seafang to sail back and reconquer those lands later. So this is here you can see we would be allowed to dedicate a Chaos Altar. Doing so would make the people of the area unhappy, as though we care, and also produce a little bit of combat spoils for us. You can see colonizing a region that is not like a Norscan region costs an awful lot of spoils. I do think we're going to be doing that. We could just sack it and leave and take some of its money, or we could pillage and raise. So properly burn it to the ground, really take everything. But in order to benefit from all the spoils, we would have to then safely move them back to another one of our settlements. We're just going to go ahead and do the colonize. So, quest complete. We've received a potion of toughness. As your forays outside of the homeland grow longer, you must make a decision over the longer-term fate of your raiding party. You could abandon the opportunity to sooner dominate the tribes of Norsca and instead concentrate on the wider world's fruits of conquest, yet following in Lost Ericsson's footsteps and forging a new path from these Lustrian shores may prove more risky than fruitful. I think we're going to try to hold on to our territory back home. We're going to play both theaters at once. So, we keep Trollfjord and we get the loot for the homeland bonus for 5 turns, doubled income from post-battle loot, and 50 points of growth in our provinces. If we were to do the other thing, we'd get 10,000 raw money, give up Trollfjord, and a bunch of spoils to help us expand over here. We're gonna play this a slightly more complicated way. So yeah, we got our Ranger Standard. We saw that already. We got a Bearsunling Berserker. Bearsunling? Who is a follower, who gives us +4 leadership for our Marauder Berserker units in our army, and plus 10% to their damage as well. That's a pretty good follower. We got a Potion of Toughness, which when we drink it will give us 10 armor, and it always just having it gives us 10 armor. And then when we drink it, we get even more armor and defense and a little bit of healing. Okay, mission issued. Maintain control of the following province, either by direct ownership or whatever. The jungles of Pahuaxla. Okay, so settlements. You can see here the game map is made up of regions, each region containing a settlement, and then the regions are further grouped into provinces. So here we have the region of the Monument of the Moon. Here, the region of Swamp Town. Up here, or down here, this is the Shrine of Sotek, and then this is Pahuax. And these 4 regions together make up a province. If you own all of the regions in a province, you get some extra economic bonuses, which is cool. It is nice to hold whole provinces. I don't know how much that we're going to be doing. We're going to be burning down an awful lot of stuff. Each settlement has within it a certain number of building spaces. You have 1 building space that is devoted to the main settlement structure, which generates you a little bit of money and a basic defensive garrison. And then additional building slots that you can put stuff in, and as you level up your main settlement structure, you unlock more slots to build things in. In addition, other buildings can also be leveled up, but nothing can ever have a level that is higher than the level of the main settlement structure. So you always gotta take care of this one first. We automatically have had one of our building slots filled with the port, because there's a port here in this city. So it's generating a little bit of growth for us and helping to replenish our army more quickly, which is nice. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff going on with settlements that we don't need to stress about right now. Each one generates income. There's this idea of control. A poorly controlled settlement is less effective and eventually may rebel against your rule. Corruption we'll talk about later. A little defensive garrison in case the place gets attacked. And then each settlement also has a climate. Certain factions don't do well in certain kinds of weather. We're marauders. We're hardy. It looks like we're doing just fine pretty much everywhere. Okay, this is a place where pillage can be returned now that we've taken it over. And then this marking here tells us whether or not we can teleport to this port with our Sea Fang ability, which we cannot do right now because we're not in the boat, obviously.
World Walker.
All right, we got some experience points. We leveled up.
To the four corners.
Every character has a bunch of skill trees, a bunch of skill lines, really. It's not really a tree because generally the branches don't overlap. But a bunch of places to spend skill points, which they will gain as they level up. Ordinary troops also level up, but when they gain levels, they don't have anything nearly as complicated going on. They just gain rank, which gives them a small stat bonus. And normal units can rank up to 9 times, giving them, 9 times this bonus.
The Eternal Challenger.
The basic shape, every character is a little bit different, but the basic shape of the trees is the same. You'll have a yellow line here, which is just like personal stat bonuses, get you better at fighting. Here's some melee attack, here's some melee defense, here's some charge bonus. A red line, if your character is a leader of an army, a red line which will buff the units under your command, so usually like specifically. So you have to, this skill improves Marauder Horsemen, this skill improves your Warhounds and your Ice Wolves, and so on. And then a blue line that actually improves your map functionality. So we're going to put our first skill point into more movement range every turn because I feel very strongly about moving fast all the time. And then we're going to put our second point into Norse Resilience, which is going to increase our rate of casualty replenishment because we're going to be fighting constantly, and we need to be good at healing from our losses.
Can never have enough tools.
So you can see here above each unit's health, green is how much health it has remaining, and yellow is how much health it's going to replenish if we just stop here for the round, which we are going to do because taking over the settlement has completely depleted our movement bar. Here you can see. Our wizard also leveled up. So magical characters also have a line that represents their magical practice. If we follow this line, he'll learn new spells and get better at the spells he knows. And then above that, most characters have some kind of like unique improvement that unlocks later. Yeah, usually around in the teens. Interesting improvements, unique to their job, whatever it is. So we're going to put a point in Searing Doom here, which will allow us to overcast it and give it a shorter cooldown. Overcasting a spell is like casting it twice as hard. You can see here when overcast, it hits a larger area and there are more shards. But whenever you overcast a spell, in addition to having a higher cost, there's a chance of miscasting it, which is when the spell still goes off, but also you channel so much magic through your body that you burn yourself horribly and take a ton of damage. And it is absolutely possible for wizards to miscast so hard that they kill themselves. When it happens, it's pretty cool looking, actually. They just sort of explode magic everywhere. But obviously not a thing we would want to happen to our only wizard in the entire world here. Oh, right. Let me go back to
The correct path.
Wulfrik and make sure that we equip him with his potion. And his follower and his banner that he earned. Okay.
My strength grows.
So, we're healing, but we could also use more troops. So when we're in a friendly territory,
You'll earn your guild with me.
we can pop open the recruit units thing here. We can recruit whatever kinds of units are available in the local region through the local pool at the bottom, and then any kind of unit that any of our buildings anywhere in the world can produce up here via the global pool. Right now, The only troop-making building we have is this one, the basic settlement structure, which only makes the crappiest Marauder unit. So unfortunately, for the moment, that's what we're doing. We're just getting a bunch of Marauders. So notice some of our units will not be healing to full this turn. I'm going to go ahead and commit 2 turns worth of recruitment. So you can see the number of boxes here indicating how many units we can pull per turn. The global pool units are more costly and they take twice as long to arrive. And that turns out to be fine because we're going to be sitting here for 2 turns. So in 2 turns, we'll have another 9 units of Marauders, just a massive amount of Norscan bodies to go forth and slay our foes with. We're resting up, and we'll talk about research in a second. Let's go check out our situation in the north. So, Seafang, when we are at sea, Seafang allows us to teleport to any port that we have vision of. So we could warp all the way from where we are now back to Trollfjord if we wanted. So we don't necessarily need to generate a huge army for defense here, because we could just ride home if we came under attack. Also, it is worth noting that we're not actually at war with anybody back here in Norsca right now. You see lots of people have opinions about us that are kind of generally negative, but we don't have an immediate threat to our survival. Just a lot of slightly frowny faces. So I'm gonna not bother to recruit a defensive force here. We're just gonna let Trollfjord exist for the moment. Looks very similar to our new territory. It is worth noting that it's part of a province with this one other settlement. And this other settlement has, first of all, the Norscan region marker, which means it can be occupied without spending spoils, but also the monument indicator. There's some kind of fancy, unique building that could be constructed here. Usually these are really powerful. Yeah, wow, an extra 200 income per turn, and it gives all of your Marauder champions 15% physical resistance. No, it gives them all an aura that gives 15% physical resistance to every friendly unit within 35 meters. That's awfully good. Okay, let's make coming back here and claiming the monolith of Bjorkhill Bloody Hand a sort of a medium-term concern, because I would really like to have that. That's going to make our Marauder champions so tough. That said, it's probably not worth being too concerned about prior to getting Marauder champions. I think we have one unit of Marauder champions in our army right now.
I'm the wanderer.
Yeah, so I guess it would give us some immediate benefit. Anyway, let's talk about research technology. It turns out even the Norskins love a tech tree, or perhaps 3 different tech trees. It's actually 2 tech trees, as you can see here. One for improving the function of your map stuff and your buildings, movement range, line of sight, control, improving your economic options, and then 1 tech tree for unit murder killing ability, ending in the Secrets of the Ice, which grants mass, but also experience gain, and ward save is just damage reduction. Just make all your stuff really powerful. I think we're going to start by doing a little bit of infrastructure research, because I did see there's some campaign movement range available early on here. Having extra line of sight on your characters is a pretty big deal too. Obviously, it's very difficult to react to a threat intelligently if you don't know it's there. So let's make sure we know that they're there.
You can always kill better.
And then we also have a couple of other buttons down here. This is the diplomacy window, in case we feel like doing diplomacy. Probably not the most critical thing. And then we have the monstrous arcanum. This will unlock on turn 8, and it's a whole complicated thing in its own right. We're just not going to bother with it until turn 8. Other UI buttons that are important. Well, we have this button allows us to unlock special units of Norscan, like legendary Norscan warriors. But before we can do that, we have to prove that we are worthy of them by leveling up and or performing feats in the world. So we'll worry about that stuff when we get to it. This button here allows us to hire mercenaries. Huh. There must be an ogre camp nearby. Do we... Yeah, I don't see it, but yeah, there must be an ogre camp nearby. Well, you know what? I would like to hire mercenaries. Let's take these on. So you can only jam 20 units into an army. I'm going to cancel one of our global recruits so that we can just buy these two right now.
Who wants to join me?
Our army is not going to be ready to move until a couple turns from now, so there is an argument, I suppose, for waiting to hire them until we're ready to move out, because as you can see here, they do have an amount of gold that we have to pay them every turn in upkeep, in the sort of the middle line of the box there, 163 gold per turn. And maybe it would be better not to pay them while we're just sitting still, but I'm a little worried that we will lose access to the mercenary camp because I don't see it, and so I can't. I don't know if it's in danger or not. Most people are not too friendly to ogres, so I think we're just going to go ahead and buy them now for fear that they might not be available later. And then, with all of that done, 40 minutes into the video, perhaps it's time to end our first turn. So you'll see here there are 295 factions on the world map at the beginning of a game of Immortal Empires. That number has already fallen by one, expected to fall by many more over the next few turns. There's going to be a great contracting as the smallest factions are devoured by their neighbors. But they do all need to take time to take their turns here. It's a big map, there are many, many people in it, and we're going to have to fight all of them, more or less. So, okay, demons are doing stuff up north. Ah, there are those ogres. That ogre camp was like hidden in the forest over here. And the ogres have moved out. Which means that had we not hired the ogres right then, I bet we would have lost the ability because they're probably too far away from us now. Philip Billings is coming down to defend Swamp Town. Fine by me. I don't think that's going to end up being very successful. Just a feeling I have. Okay, there is another faction of Norskins down here. And in fact, Skeggy is a settlement that has room for a couple of interesting monuments. Alright, capture a settlement and raise an altar to one of the dark gods. I would love to do this. From the Norscan perspective, the first act of fanaticism differs little from the last. All unyielding, blood-drenched savagery in service to a ruinous power. Each god provides progressively stronger faction-wide effects as altars are raised in their name, tracked by the allegiance bar and tooltips at the top of the main campaign interface. Losing altars will reduce allegiance. We'll get some money if we do this. Okay. I would love to do that, but we're still recruiting for another turn here. So we're hanging in there. We can't upgrade any of our buildings yet because the main settlement building requires, in addition to gold, a certain amount of surplus population in order to get upgraded. And you can see here in our growth panel, it will take one more turn for us to generate 1 point of population surplus. You can speed this process up by increasing the amount of growth that the settlement has. It's not really a thing we have a lot of control over right now, though, so we're just going to have to wait. And in fact, I think it's exactly the same situation back home, which means we have literally nothing to do for turn 2. Technology keeps researching, people keep healing. They can't all be bangers. But, you know, we're doing okay. Like I said, we're healing up our armies. Our income is currently positive. So we can just kind of sit here and gather money. And then next turn we will be ready to move out and show Philip Billings who is the boss. And that it is not him. Demon cities are changing hands. Big demon armies going to battle with each other. Maybe a thing to be concerned about. Be'lakor is not the friendliest guy on Earth. And if he owns the settlement that is adjacent to our settlement up there, we're probably going to have words with him eventually. All right, Philip Billings has gone into mustering mode. That means he's recruiting. So obviously we would like to prevent him from doing that. The Sightless have been obliterated by Be'lakor's Shadow Legion. Our technology is finished. Extra movement range. Excellent.
Undefeated.
You generate a certain amount of passive experience every turn automatically, and apparently our wizard has produced enough of that to level up. So, a thing that is common to casters in the caster skill line is that most of the skill points spent will teach you spells and improve your spells, but in the first the first box of skills, most casters will have access to a passive ability that does something every time they cast a spell. Metal shifting here, every time we cast for 13 seconds, will give every one of our characters on the map plus 12% weapon damage and armor piercing damage. That's pretty good. And the one spell that we know right now is pretty cheap and pretty low cooldown. So let's go ahead and grab metal shifting before we grab any new spells. Just a constant magical sharpening of the weapons. All right. So you can see here as we select this army, the orange area on the green, not orange, the green area on the edge of the map here represents our movement zone. This is the area that we have enough movement to get to. Not much of a threat to Swamp Town right this second. If we don't get to Swamp Town before the end of the turn, he will surely recruit some troops, as we did, but it's hard to know exactly how many and how dangerous that is. I think we're just going to get in our ship and sail over here. You can see our ability to sail carries us much further than our ability to walk through the jungle, even the part that's like relatively clear. We're just a lot better on water. So yeah, let's run over here.
On the move.
Sail toward him. Now, it is worth noting we could have used Seafang to teleport to Swamp Town, I'm pretty sure. But I don't want to do that because it has the teleport does have a cooldown, and we don't want it to be on cooldown should something happen up north, because we wanted to get someplace one turn faster. In addition, there is this little point of interest here, a mysterious uncharted island that has appeared in the bay that I think we're going to swing through on our way over there. All right, we got our 1 point of population surplus, which means we can key in an upgrade here for the moot. It becomes a Norse moot. You can see it produces a little bit more money and stuff like that, but the main benefit of doing this is it will unlock another building slot and allow us to upgrade our buildings to level 2 in the settlement. And that should be available back home as well, I think. It does also let us recruit a new kind of unit. There's standing infantry axe throwers, non-cavalry axe throwers. So that's cool. And we finished our research, so let's get a new research going. So if we push along the lines through this box, eventually we'll get to stronger ores, which gives even more campaign movement range and a a reduction in the rate at which our troops get tired. In battle, fighting and running and all that stuff, your troops get worn out, and it does start to affect their stats. So a vigor loss reduction means they stay fresher longer, and that can be a big advantage Tiredness can really screw up your stats quite badly. Seafang's Tribute here gives us a big bonus to casualty replenishment when we're in foreign territory, and extra money from encounters at sea. I mean, this seems like the kind of direction we want to go in, right? So to get stronger ores, I only need to get one of these three things. So we're going to research a line through here. So what do we have available? Okay, vigor loss reduction, huge, but only when defending. A reduction in the control of enemy provinces when your army is present. And bonus income from raiding. So yeah, just like terrifying our foes. Following into more income from post-battle loot, more magic items. Yeah, just we take stuff. The Wanderers improves our ability to take reinforcements from nearby friendly armies and lowers attrition damage from when we're traveling in places that are unfriendly to us, like through harsh mountain passes or over deserts or whatever. A lot of sailors have to be careful because there are several different kinds of things going on at sea that can cause attrition damage to your navy. But remember, Wulfrik, the expert sailor, is immune to all of the types of water attrition, so we don't have to really worry about that effect. And then this would give us +1 global recruitment capacity and -1 turn to recruit units through the global recruitment pool for all armies. That's a hugely powerful effect. That's really, really strong. Or better chance of successfully ambushing people and avoiding ambushes ourselves, followed by cheaper hero actions that are more likely to succeed and a better chance to avoid enemy hero actions. Okay, this is probably the most powerful skill in this box, but I do think the Wanderers is just kind of like not very interesting for us. Let's go through Norscan hunter traps and secrets of the Northlands, because I do love a good ambush, and reducing the odds that enemy heroes are going to do terrible things to our army also is valuable for sure. So we'll start this way.
Fuel the war machine.
I could be pursuing buffs for our units instead. I am not doing that. So let's talk a little bit about money. You can see here at the top of the screen, we currently have 749 gold in the treasury, and we are making a very modest 366 per turn. We just spent a lot of our total cash on getting these upgrades in place. And if we ever end up significantly negative on income and run out of money, our armies will start to disband. You can see here it does cost gold to keep all these guys like fed and paid and whatever. So this is a concern for me. This is much less money than I would like to have. It turns out, historically speaking, it is tremendously important to make sure that your army has food and payment. The Art of War by Sun Tzu is essentially about, it's like 75% just like, hey, make sure you feed your army and pay them on time. It's like that, and if your opponent asks if you're going to, if your potential opponent in a war asks if you're going to attack them, consider lying. Okay, I don't know what these ogres are doing, but they're welcome here as a distraction. Some of the people who would be fighting us will instead choose to fight the ogres, probably. Because while they're out here and selling mercenaries to people, they are also like marauding and eating everything in sight. And
Raiding is an honest life.
all right, an uneventful set of turns for our enemies. So, first things first, before we get to the city, you can see he has recruited some units. He's up to 9 units in his army.
Done and done.
Let's check this out. Let's see what this is. Landing on a small island, your warriors stumble upon an encampment. Debris and spilled accoutrements suggest the original incumbents left in a hurry. Then a roar pierces the air. Something is coming. scavenge what you can, and Scarper, I don't know that we would run away. I think we would stay and fight. We're about to go into a battle, so let's hit some mushroom stew here. This wholesome fungi broth gives a boost to morale, movement, and army-wide regeneration in battle. So we found 1,000 gold worth of treasure there, and also Mathlan's Blessing. 25% physical resistance for the entire army for 10 turns. Damn. Your troops will be protected from harm while they have the elven god's favor. Okay, yeah, that seems like a big deal. And let's hit the harbor here before they have a chance to finish recruiting. So you can see here the settlement has its own garrison, plus Philip Billings' troops, but the fact is, they're still outnumbered, and it is still the case that just like random swordsmen with 32 attack and 32 defense and 30 armor doesn't really stand up all that well to like terrifying dual axe marauder berserkers or an ogre. Our own like basic marauder troop is pretty similar. 34 attack, 28 defense. We don't really defend ourselves that much in combat. But a lot of Norscan troops have abilities like Rage and Frenzy that allow us to build up toughness and killing power. And then also we have the Mammoth and stuff. So you can see here, if we take the auto-resolve, it is going to kill off one of my units. It is just warning us now. And we're probably going to be on the march after this. Like, we're going to want to keep running around and burning stuff. I don't want to take this over and stop and heal here. I want to burn this down and keep moving. So maybe it behooves us to do this manually. Let's throw our Ranger standard up onto our Marauder Champion, who is by far the toughest unit in our army here. You can see the Marauder Champion, the only person who thought it was a good idea to wear actual armor at 80 armor there, and then 36 attack and 54 melee defense. It's just supremely hard to kill. Very good for holding enemy units in place. Not necessarily the most damaging unit himself, but certainly not bad. And let's just try to outperform that expected auto-resolve result a little bit here, shall we? I would love for my units to be mostly in good enough shape to just march on and have another battle the next turn. So it's just showing us his army here, but of course, don't forget they have the garrison army as well. Looks like not a lot of ranged units. He's got a set of crossbows and then 2 units of just regular archers. They have set up as far away from us as possible. I suppose I understand. Alright, once again, we'll just command group these guys for easy selection during combat. Run you down here, and then the way they've set up, I expect that there's some of them that we can't see in the trees. The trees will do that. They will hide the numbers. So it might actually behoove us to approach through that forest to help minimize their range advantage a little bit. Because projectiles really do path. They really do like trace their path and stuff after they're fired, and they can only deal damage to units they can actually hit. And if you are firing into, say, a dense forest, you are going to hit trees, right? Some percentage of the time. Trying to give our guys who are not wearing shields a little bit of cover here, second rank. I'm going to control group the ogres too. So the ogres are a little faster here. You can see speed 54. They are a little faster than normal infantry, which have speeds like in the mid-30s. And they are individually quite huge. This doesn't tell the story so well, but if we put them down, say, next to a man on a horse, there you go. That's the size of an ogre. So when they charge, they bring all of that mass to bear, and they are actually very, very good at disrupting formations by charging into them. So I'm going to use them as cavalry, effectively. Shock cavalry. And then, of course, Wulfrik. and
Shame on sorcerer.
the wizard. Okay. And once again,
Ready to murder. Do not disappoint the gods today.
I think we're just going to kind of
Is worse than
run at you.
when do we eat? Hungry.
We'll try to use the fast units to distract, pull them out of shape, and of course sneak a couple kills if we can manage it. The Marauder Horsemen are 90 speed, for comparison's sake, so much faster than even the ogres. Marauder Horsemen are fast, just like horse relative as well. They're very, very quick units.
Get them.
So as ever, we got to watch out for the
Bring us the
arc of fire of their various ranged units. We don't want to just ride into a hail of arrows, but we can sort of harass them.
Take it all. Quick.
They're not as quick to try to chase us, it looks like.
Charge them.
And in fact, it seems like they've turned away from us. Let me see if I can get a volley or two in here. They're okay. Starting to see some attack orders. But we managed to throw some javelins there unanswered.
Bring us the carnage.
Alright, this has given the rest of our army some time to approach. Unfortunately, I don't know if I feel safe approaching with the ogres. They're kind of committing. I probably want the approach of the ogres to mirror the approach of the rest of our units a little bit more, though. So let's stop approaching through the woods, start approaching this way. And for the moment, we'll just keep playing this game. Okay, they're turning their cones back kind of to the other side. Okay, here we go. So this is what we wanted. They see our proper troops coming in. They're starting to turn to look at that, and now is when we ride in and just throw a bunch of javelins into the archer corps from behind. Keep in mind, we also do have our spells. Unfortunately, we're a little bit out of range, I think. Yeah, we can comfortably cast to right here. So we'll come in and check on this guy in a minute.
Shame on sorcerer.
Making my way. Tremble, mortals. Bring us the carnage. Faster.
Do my best to just be a distraction here. I'm going to try to use the trees as cover. So that'll buy time for the ogres to get in here. And the rest of our units are getting close. I'm going to go ahead and assign charge targets at this point. Let's just run right into them. So many units have what is called a charge bonus. When you get a running start into an enemy, if you are allowed to get up to a full speed run and then slam into an enemy, I believe the way this works, that they may have changed it since I learned this. You get your charge bonus as a bonus to your melee attack stat and your weapon strength stat for 10 seconds after landing the charge. Our units have pretty decent charge bonuses for infantry. You can see the opposing guys have slightly lower, or in the case of their missile units, lower still. Nobody expects an archer to have to charge. And some of our units have very large charge bonuses indeed. They really want to get that initial like screaming run in. I'm going to have our berserkers hold back just a little bit. These guys are much more powerful offensively and relatively weak defensively, and I want to get them I want to try to get them on like a flank if we can. Have them hit somebody in the side. All right, you see some of the enemy archers are focused on the mammoth, who ran out ahead of everybody else because I gave us all a sort of generic move order, and the mammoth is really fast. There's no big surprise there. I'm going to try to move our Marauder champion over and deal with the shields on this side. Okay, we all got charges in. So, the spears on this side. I'm a little worried about the spears because spear troops generally have what's called a bonus versus large. And it's kind of similar to a charge bonus. Bonus versus large is a value that gets applied to both your melee attack and your weapon strength when you are attacking troops that are of the type that you have a bonus against. In this game, large means horse or bigger. So, you know, spear troops get a bonus versus cavalry. Makes a lot of sense. Obviously, they will similarly get a pretty big bonus against mammoth. All right. While we are continuing to approach, I'm also going to queue up a little bit of spellcasting just to disrupt those who would overly focus on our mammoth a little bit. And I might want to have Wulfrik run over here and play defense for the mammoth as well, especially since we can disrupt troop locations with our Sea Fang. Alright, are the archers going to move to dodge? They're, we got them to move a little bit. Okay, here comes the thing. So I'm going to choose to use my Sea Fang on these archers here, who think that they're going to just stand their ground and shoot at the mammoth. Pick on our poor defenseless mammoth. It doesn't know any better. Let's pull some of these units over. We have way too many units focused on those guys over there. Okay. Let's pull some units to the side. The ogres, it looks like, are going to get to eat well here. Now, ogres are large units because they are bigger than a horse, so we do have to be a little bit careful with getting them caught on enemy spears. And of course, it goes without saying, the Marauder horsemen are large because they are literally horsemen. Now, it's worth noting that bonus versus type is really only going to be applied against things that the unit is facing. If we use our ogres to side charge a group of enemy spears that already have a target, we can rely on some degree of safety there. Okay, let's see how this stuff's going down. Here comes the boat.
Quickly now!
Wow, that did some work. They are demoralized after having been struck by a magical boat. Who would have thought? I'm going to put our Marauder horsemen into melee mode and just focus the enemy units of archers that are right in front of us.
Yes, sword!
Alright, let's try to get our berserkers now through this gap here.
Move now! Attack the mortals!
Got a nice dense concentration of enemy units to rain some magic on.
This one's good.
And we'll get our berserkers in here so we get the surround on these enemies and start chopping. You can see a lot of panic going on here. A lot of enemies who do not feel that they are well represented in this situation. Oh, we got some smart guys up here. So this is what probably has happened with this unit is you can see how low their morale is. They probably broke and ran, but didn't quite make it off the map, and then recovered, which units will do if you don't keep the pressure up. They'll start thinking, okay, no, we got it, we're fine, we're alive. Why were we ever so scared? And then they will turn around and try to make trouble again. Somebody's got to stop them, but I don't really know. I guess you guys can do it. Let's try to pull this unit of Marauders loose. See if we can get them focused, because I don't want those archers having time to just shoot at the archer, or at the mammoth. And then this guy's got another nice dense ball of enemies to fire into over here. Now we do have to be a little bit careful with this like raining metal shards from the sky thing, because metal shards know not friend or foe, and you can do a lot of friendly fire damage with this skill. But I think overall it's going pretty well. Alright.
Slaughterers of the weak!
Marauder Berserkers are bullying the enemies. Causing enemies to break and run this close to the edge of the map is usually pretty good. Alright. Let's grab a bunch of units here and march. Trying to get our horsemen marauders out of here. So notice, I don't know if you saw as the sort of the cascade of the symbol across the enemy screen happened. Units that have a little white flag above their head are panicked. They're running away right now, but they might recover. Units that have this red flag with a little bit of blood on it, accompanied by a skull, have permanently given up and will not return to fight. They are shattered. They are out of here. And it tends to be the case that seeing a friendly unit nearby give up and run causes a bunch of morale damage to other friendly units nearby. So you often see that sort of cascade effect where like 2 units here give up, and that makes this guy give up, and that makes this guy give up, and so it sort of sweeps across the army. I don't know exactly how the game was going to distribute the damage on the auto resolve, but as you can see there, we came nowhere close to losing anybody. Honestly, the worst thing I did was let our marauder horsemen get caught in place by a group of swordsmen after we charged those archers. I wasn't watching them closely enough, and they did get chopped in the flanks a little bit. But overall, a pretty successful battle, if I may say so myself. 83 losses to 860 or so on the other side. And so when you fight an enemy army in the field, in many cases, the survivors will get the chance to sort of like flee and reform. When you defeat an enemy army in defense of a settlement, even if it's a settlement like this where there were no functional defensive structures or anything, we just had a field battle about it, the army is completely eliminated. They have nowhere to run, and so we have just completely annihilated Philip Billings and his cohort here. Philip Billings himself is a legendary lord. He's the leader of the faction, and so he cannot actually be killed. He is just wounded and would respawn eventually, provided that his faction still exists in 5 or so turns. But I think there's a chance they won't. I think we're going to push real hard on that. So we got some decent money, a bunch of XP, and a Helm of Discord, 20 armor, and the ability to blow up the melee attack and melee defense of all enemies within 35 meters. Every 90 seconds for 25 seconds. That's pretty fantastic. Alright, we could occupy this settlement. I'm not going to. I think it's time to start burning stuff. So, we're raising our first Chaos Altar. Realistically here, we're picking which god we're going to focus on. So let's have a look at their bonuses and see who we want to go with. So those of you who are familiar with the setting may have noticed that Hound, Serpent, Crow, and Eagle are not the Chaos gods, but that they more or less correspond to the Chaos gods. That's true. The Hound just is a manifestation of Khorne. The Eagle is Tzeentch, and so on. So you can see here, we can get access to spawn and chaos warriors of the particular god. Tzeentch will give us reduced cooldown for spells, as you might imagine, from the god of magic. Plus research points after winning a battle in provinces adjacent to your altars. That's actually really cool. So it helps accelerate your research. Weapon strength for Tzeentch-themed units. Okay, so that's interesting. Spell cooldown and extra research points, basically. The crow here, Nurgle, altars to the crow replenish casualties by 6% after winning a battle in provinces adjacent to the altar. They also give growth bonuses and bonuses to the income from all buildings. That's nice. As well as, of course, Chaos Warriors of Nurgle. Slaanesh will give extra XP to Lords and Heroes after winning a battle near the altar. A significant upkeep reduction to all armies. And a significant physical damage bonus, physical resistance bonus to all characters. As well as, Slaaneshi units. And eventually, the Chaos Sorcerer, Kihar the Tormentor. Every one of the factions will give you some kind of special character at level 4. I don't think this is bad. And then finally, the Hound gives bonus XP to all your units. Altars to the Hound replenish movement range after winning a battle in provinces adjacent to the altar. That's pretty cool. Weapon strength up and corn units. Honestly, I kind of feel... I do like the physical resistance and upkeep reduction. I think I'm kind of feeling Slaanesh. And that would fit with the DLC, right? Where Slaanesh has been receiving some special attention here. There's also something to be said for just a lot of growth and income. But you know what? Let's do this. Let's go altar to the serpent. So the people in the area will not be happy. We get 41 spoils.
You have chosen to pledge allegiance. The gods will be pleased. Their favor toward you grows. Keep their gaze upon you by erecting further monoliths in their name and reap the benefits they bestow.
Okay, thanks, old guy. Wulfrik has become a skipper, achieving victory in naval battles. There are some skills that you learn over time by doing particular things. We got our Helm of Discord, of course. We picked up a Mountain Scout by ranking up while still under rank 10, so even more movement range for Wulfrik. We also got a Whaler. And Wulfrik has raised up enough in level to be allowed to ride a horse now. Hooray!
Wulfrik the Wanderer. World Walker.
Alright, so now we have to make a decision. I think the Route Marcher and Norse Resilience are pretty easy points to grab no matter what you really think you ought to be going after. But I don't know that we want to continue pushing blue. So the way these skill lines are constructed, the yellow, red, and blue ones generally, is they have the skills arranged into little groups here in boxes, and you can move past the box after you have spent 4 skill points in total in the box. And then eventually you'll get into another box where you have to spend a bunch of points. Yeah, see, this doesn't really feel like it's all that huge of a bonus. I'm wondering if maybe it might be a good idea to pursue bonus resources for the units we use the most, or bonus stats for the units we use the most, because we're going to be stuck on kind of low-tier garbage marauder type units for probably a while here as we try to build up a reasonably large settlement somewhere. So I'm going to go ahead and start my red line, I think. We'll take Dominating Presence here to open it up, which gives 75 XP per turn for every unit in the Lord's army, as well as increasing the character's aura leadership effect. I don't know if you noticed, but the Wulfrik and the Chaos Sorcerer both have a little circle around them, a little blue circle around them when we select them in battle. That is an area in which they increase the leadership of friendly units. So, being near the commander makes you less likely to want to give up. So this just improves improves that aura's effect from 5 to 10, which is pretty good. Okay, so then we have 6 different skills that govern 6 different groups of units. Fearsome Warriors gives bonuses to all of the different marauders. And you can see depicted which units get the benefit. Beast Slayers covers your... Or sorry, this is all your melee marauders. Beast Slayers covers all your ranged marauders. The throwers, the marauder horsemen, and so on. Unnatural Selection gives bonuses to your Warhounds, Ice Wolves, and Chariot type units. Frostbitten is for Skin Wolves and Trolls. In case you're wondering why the Skin Wolves get to be separate from the other wolves, it's because they're not wolves, they're wolf men. Skin Wolves are like lycanthropes, kind of. They had a whole different thing going on. Hail of Teeth gives you bonuses for your Manticores, Chimeras, and Chaos Frost Dragons. Maybe a bit of a distant concern. And Monsters of the North gives bonuses to your Famir, Giants, Mammoths. We do love a Mammoth for sure. But I think let's start with Fearsome Warriors. Let's get bonus attack for all of our melee marauders. And then the next skill point gives weapon strength as well. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
I can kill with any weapon.
All right, you need to start learning a spell now. Just like the other skill lines, it takes 4 skill points in this box to be able to move on to evasion. We spent 1, and now conveniently we have a bunch of skills that can take 3 points. The first point just unlocks the spell for use. The second point unlocks the ability to overcast it and lowers its cooldown. And the third point lowers its cooldown even more, lowers its cost, and lowers the miscast chance and cost of the overcast version as well. So, Plague of Rust, a basic counter-defensive spell, lowers the value of the enemy's army. When overcast, it just has double the effect on their armor, which is, it's not nothing. Minus 60 armor is a lot. Glittering Robe allows you to give your own units armor, if you'd like to solve that problem in a different way. And then Gehenna's Golden Hounds creates a an area, a small area where a bunch of effectively dogs made out of fire just sort of rampage around in a tornado in the area, and the area moves around slowly, so I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily the best damage spell. I kind of think we're just going to level up Plague of Rust. Plague of Rust seems diabolical and also, to the point, it is a pretty cheap spell here. You can see it's only 4 when cast normally or 6 when overcast. And we want to be casting frequently so that we're taking advantage of metal shifting as best we can. All that extra weapon damage, right?
To the 4 corners.
Okay, it used to be that when you did this, it didn't leave anything behind. The settlement was just blanked out. But it's turned the altar into a kind of settlement of its own, where we still have access to the wharf and all the benefits the wharf brings. That's pretty rad. And then there's even a building slot. We can take advantage of the pottery resource, the clay, that is natural to the soil here. We got a couple of different altar improvement selections. Income from loot and raiding up in adjacent regions. This is a recruitment structure that will give us access to marauders and marauder spears, and then as we level it up, access to our Slaanesh units. Chaos Warriors of Slaanesh. That might be a good way to go, actually. Although this is certainly not going to be the only one of these we do, and we won't be able to afford to recruit these units for a while anyway. Alternatively, we can turn it into a campaign movement range and casualty replenishment rate booster, but it only affects armies that are in this province. It does say province, not region, though, so that is pretty large. Or we could erect a small defensive structure and give it just like a tiny bit more of a garrison. What is the natural garrison that's been given? That's not the building. Here we go. Okay, just a smattering of marauders. I mean, the extra troops from this are not going to make this thing anywhere near tough enough to stand up to an enemy attack. So this feels like a waste. I might leave it open and just have it produce pottery for us, actually. In addition to the raw income this generates, the pottery resource production will help us establish trade routes. And given the control of the sea lanes that we are likely to have, I think it makes sense to run some kind of trade somewhere. So yeah, we'll just leave that as it is. And I think that that looks like that for this turn. Yeah, we can't afford to do anything else around here, and we're still building that building. So
Where's my next quarry?
well, I just used all my movement. I don't know what I'm doing. I was thinking I might run over here and try to get close to Port Reaver to be threatening, because I do think we want to take this faction out eventually. But you know what? Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not a right this second kind of problem. And in any case, we used up all of our movement. I'm pretty pleased with the way that battle went. I think we did in fact sufficiently show him who was the boss. So we're just gonna let the sequence of enemy turns run here, and then call the video there for the day. 90 minutes is a little bit longer than I usually like these to run, but if I'm being honest, I often do not have the wherewithal to stop them any sooner. So that could certainly occur again in the future. This is a weird little video thing that is happening. Okay, the Vanaheimlings are trying to drive Be'lakor back. That's probably good news for us. Okay, and before we quit, apparently we are undergoing a ransacker's augury. Amid the suffocating pall of incense and the dying glow of braziers, the seer, half buried within the sundered chest of the sacrifice, appears as a grotesque offspring of a gate wrought from bone and sinew. His eyes, milky and sightless, indifferent to the feast of flesh, rise to meet yours with dreadful lucidity. In the rattle of his breath you sense an inchoate summons, bidding you trace the omen across the cartilage and scattered organs he charts with trembled fingers. Where do the portents lead the reaving horde? Okay, so this is giving us vision over a region so that we could see Fang to it. That's actually very interesting. So Marienburg is a huge and powerful and very valuable port. But because it is so valuable, the men of the Empire come running when it gets attacked generally. Bordelot is a castle on the west side of Bretonia. Also a valuable port, so we could potentially take that over. Castle Alexandrinov and Erengrad are way up in the northeast. They're near Norsca, but these are locations that are tremendously important to the Kislev faction, who we unfortunately know nothing about. It might be the case that they're very powerful right now, and if we warp over there, they'll just punish us. Actually, neither of these are... Erengrad has a port. I was going to say, Castle Alexandrinov, at least, does not have anywhere to teleport to, because we need a port for it to happen. But, Erengrad totally does. And then, Sea of Chill, we could confer vision over the regions of Karan, Kar, and Nagrar. So this would give us vision over the Dark Elves, so their whole thing is happening to the northwest of us. I don't know that I feel like we need to interfere. My experience has been that that's always a rough enough area on its own. You know what? Maybe give me vision over Bordelot, because from Bordelot we can reach Marienburg fairly easily. So here it is. There's a smudge on my monitor, I'm just realizing. So here's Bordelot. As you can see, it has a landmark port, which is, it's pretty good. And Marienburg. I always forget whether it's Marienbad or Marienburg. Is like right up here. Is very nearby if you just follow the coast. So we could potentially pick up a couple of valuable locations while hunting this if we were smart. It does look like Grom the Paunch, who is one of the goblin legendaries, has his eye on it. Maybe, I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. We certainly weren't going to make any use of this right now.
The eternal challenger.
So, like I said, we're gonna leave it right here so we can just swing right back into action. Next episode. That's gonna be it for us for today. Thank you all so much for watching. It's good to be back. I do enjoy Total War Warhammer. I hope y'all enjoy watching it. When you return, there is more marauding to do, and we'll be cracking open our monstrous arcanum for the first time. I'm excited. I hope y'all are excited. And we'll see you then.